So here we go. I'm going to show you probably the most complex part of figuring out this bending to the water, which might make you scratch your head, but it's very, once you have it, it's very satisfying. So just stick with it. So the first thing is that we draw a figure of a figure bending to the water. The next thing is we're going to cut this figure out, but you don't want to cut the space in between because that's going to be strength, like you'll see. Let me just show you really quick. Here's a final version. You paint it out, and it's strong, okay? So that's done. The next thing is that you get your scissors, and you actually cut the figure out of the paper. You notice that these are still here, okay?
Great.
Then the next thing is like, well, okay, this is bending to the water. Maybe, especially if there's some kids that really don't want to do anything else, this could just be made with the thing that goes into the box, and it's lovely, just as a still figure, okay?
Got it.
That is an option. But if we're going to make it bend to the water, we have to figure out the place that bends. So, as you know, our necks bend, or maybe if it's a person, it's from here, or maybe, you figure out the pivot point that you want. And then you have to get really, really, really brave. You have to mark this.
Okay.
And then you have to cut it. Okay, you want to stop. And then you cut it. And then you go, okay, now this is bending to the water. What if I wanted to look up to the sky? Ah! Oh no, oh no, oh no. So what we need to do now is to fill this in. So basically what we do is we take the head and add a piece of paper to it. I put it in a different color so that you could tell what it is. And now you have this. And now you get to move to your box because your box is cardboard and we can use it for the experimenting. So actually I'm going to switch to this one just because this is the one that I already used and I can see my little hole.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so everybody has a T-pin, which is a really fun tool. And if you put it here, like that, then that becomes the pivot point. I'm going to hold here, and then you can see this is already can move, right? It fills that space in, but it's not the right shape exactly. So the next step, ready, is figuring out where this is, then take your pencil, and sometimes you have to do this a couple different times. Like if this lifts up and you imagined that the neck was continued along that line, then it looks great. But it's not only that. You don't want this when it goes down, you don't want that to show either. So then you take your pencil and you actually draw the line where that's going to be. Yeah?
Perfect.
Then, all right, now we're going to switch to the final one. A pattern that looks like this. And here is the pattern for the body. So let's just test it. I can kind of see my hole. You might want to do this. Make make it easier on yourself. And where's your fancy T-pin? Thank you, tool. Put it down. Now let's see. Ah, yes, that's much better. Now that one is still, I might push this in a little bit further like that. There we go. And then I also added this color paper on here because what's going to happen is this whole thing will reach up and be in the box like this. So we'll cut a slit into the box, and this will be underneath the ground. So, you know, I'm just showing it to you this way right now,
Yeah.
right? And then now you can see, you can kind of see it already.
Nice.
Now what you do is put this, which is actually your box, aside, and you'll have another piece of cardboard. And this cardboard will be what you are going to use. This is only your pattern. Just for fun, let's look at the difference between, here's the initial drawing, and here's your pattern in two pieces. Does it make some sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now basically I just fit this here and here, and you trace that. I made this shorter just because I knew it didn't have to be that long. Okay, and I put it in a stronger mark so that you could see it on the video.
Woo!
All right, now the next step, you want to hold. The next thing might be a challenge, but it might also work. It might need help from adults or older people. You're going to cut these out. Now you think, okay, we know that we don't want very little hands to be holding these tools. And you think, okay, this is never going to cut the cardboard. You might be surprised. One thing that can help is if you do just take one big slice like that, because then you're just closer in, and honestly, these scissors work surprisingly well.
Nice.
Some of them do, some of them don't. So we could do a test, a test for that. But basically, if you help by, getting at least kind of close in there, I mean, these kind of scissors are great. And little hands can use these as well, pretty much. Anyway, you know how to cut.
Nice.
That's what you do.
And we have extra cardboard if somebody gets a little overzealous and accidentally cuts part of the neck off and needs to do it again.
We have extra of everything.
Perfect.
And the other thing to not worry about is that everybody is pretty much going to start to be at a different place. Okay? It's not one of those kind of situations where it's like, all right, now we're going to do this one thing. I mean, maybe some things like a demonstration of this in the in a smaller kind of way can happen, but then I think there's going to need to be a lot of individual coaching and helping and figuring out like that, because this it's not, you can understand what it is, but see, look at the difference if you suddenly pin it there. Or if you pin it here, you just have to try a lot of different things. But the thing is it's very flexible kind of material. Okay, now, so some other possibilities, like for instance, the bear that you see, the bear is pretty straightforward, pretty much like what the deer is, adding here and here, and then that works. The tree, if anyone is making a tree, like their pattern looks just like this. Maybe all that needs to happen is to add something here, and then there might be a root that's put onto the bottom that comes out and that can actually move. if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but you might also notice that up here, I didn't try to cut any of these other things. That can be painted out, and then it's strong.
Like that.
Unless you want to add, well, you can always put a bird on top of it or something. Be nice.
There's lots of flexibility in what we can do with these.
Did you get these yet?
I'm doing a little,
Here. So, like, here's another example of just something that I made previously, which actually took some figuring out from the paper pattern, because I knew that I didn't want only just the arm to bend or only just the head to bend. Like, if I was kneeling at the water, I would bend from the waist down. So I made the joint all the way here to go down to the water. And if you flip it over, like it's painted that way, so that it has a front side and a back side, and it still works.
very cool.
And then these little birds, now you have to imagine, this is the part that's under the soil, you know, leaning in. But instead of trying to have a super, super, super long neck that goes down, really when birds go into the water, you watch them, there's a big deal of the body that goes. So this is made with just a central pivot there, and the string ends up being on both of these two places. So once that's anchored, you can actually pull from one side, and then you pull from the other side.
Oh,
Very simple technology, but
works great.
totally effective.
Perfect. Thanks, Sandy.
Yeah,